Good afternoon, class, and welcome back to International Dining Etiquette for Business Persons. This week we'll be discussing the dining etiquette for those traveling to Japan. We will learn about place settings, all the do's and don'ts, and so much more. Okay, with this said, let's go right into it and talk about place settings. Just like we have etiquette that determines where each plate, glass, piece of silverware goes, so do the Japanese. A rice bowl is always going to go to the left of the diner, and then there's going to be a miso soup bowl that's going to always be on the right. Behind these bowls are serving platters, one for each type of food being served. Generally, there are going to be 3 of these platters, one for each type of side dish. Pickled vegetables when served are not included in these 3 dishes. Chopsticks are always going to be placed in front on a chopstick rest and pointed with ends should be facing to the left. Before diving into where everyone sits at the table, I want to give you guys a visual of what to expect for a table. Typically, the Japanese eat on low dining tables and sit on cushions placed on tatami floors, which are like reed mats, kind of. In the formal situations, both men and women will kneel, but more in casual situations, men will sit cross-legged, women will sit with both legs to one side. Now that you've got a better idea of what a table might look like in a Japanese restaurant, we can dive into where the location of each person will be at the table. The most important person at each meal will sit at the seat of honor, known as the kamiza. The kamiza is a place furthest from the entrance of the room where the meal is held. The meal begins once the main guest, a family member, or waitress, makes a gesture to start eating. This usually comes in the form of gratitude, such as the term itadakimasu, which means I gratefully receive. In the restaurant setting, it is also important to know that you may receive a steam towel. If you receive this, only wipe your hands with this and clean them. Do not wipe your face with this towel because it is considered rude. At home, it is expected for people to wash their hands before a meal. The next area we'll go over is Japanese cuisine itself, and the manners that surround it when you're eating. Due to the fact that most Japanese soups contain a lot of ingredients, spoons are rarely used. Instead, you should eat your soup with chopsticks. Don't be afraid of slurping your soup. Most Japanese believe that inhaling your soup while eating it engages the taste, and it is considered a compliment if you slurp your soup. When consuming miso soup, drink all the soup as if it were a cup, and then fish out the solid bits with chopsticks. Another favorite for Japanese cuisine are clamshells. When eating these, if you place the clamshells in another plate or on the lid of the bowl, it's considered impolite, so be sure to place these shells inside the bowl that they were served in. Another important tip comes when using soya sauce. Pour the amount of soya sauce you will need into the shallow empty bowl provided. Leave the trace of soya sauce that you don't use in your bowl when you are finished. Also, when using wasabi, eating sushi, do not mix your wasabi with your soya sauce in a bowl. This is considered insulting to the chef because it restricts the taste of the sushi. While dining in Japan, it's important to know the etiquettes and rules surrounding a meal, but it's also important to know the conversations that you might want to have and might not want to have. A good rule of thumb is anything that might make you uncomfortable is probably going to make them uncomfortable. So stay away from topics that are inappropriate for the dinner table in America, such as money, politics, religion, those sort of things. And be sure to be polite and respectful while at the meal. In this next section, let's talk about drinks and the customs and etiquettes that surround those. When at the table, don't start drinking until everyone at the table has a drink raised in a salute normally said as kanpai. When holding a drink, the women should have their hands underneath it. Men should also do the same in a sign of respect when talking to someone superior to them. When drinking an alcoholic beverage, it's customary to serve each other rather than pouring a drink for yourself. When pouring a drink, the hand holding the bottle should always pour forward. Pouring backwards is considered an insult. Now let's dive into Japanese utensils. Many Japanese traditions consider table manners to surround the use of chopsticks. Not only should they be held correctly, but one should never leave chopsticks standing vertically in a bowl, as this resembles an offering made at funerals. One must refrain from eating directly from the communal bowl and should never hover around their meal with chopsticks, deciding what to eat next. When not in use, you should place your chopsticks in a hatsuyuki, or a chopstick stand. It is not polite to talk while holding your chopstick, so put them down to have a chat. Never point your chopsticks when talking, and never use them to pass food to someone else in their chopsticks. When eating from small bowls, it's good manners to pick up the bowl with your hands and lean in closer with your mouth when eating from it. Never cup your hands to catch falling food, because this is considered bad manners. Ideally, food should always be eaten in one bite, so do not try to bite food into smaller bites. You should always refrain from raising your food above your mouth. At this point of the lesson, we've finished our meal. It's important to return the table to how it looked in the beginning. Put your chopsticks back in the chopstick rest or into the paper wrapping which you found them. Place any lids back on dishes and understand that it's time to wrap up the meal. To finish a meal, one would say, Joshi Shama Denishka. Excuse me for my interpretation of that word, but this is meant to mean thank you for the meal. So, there are 2 more tips for you guys before I wrap up this lesson. The first is, whoever invites you to the meal is most likely the person who's paying for the meal. So, be aware of this when visiting Japan. If you invite someone to the meal, you're expected to pay, vice versa. When it comes to tipping, this is not a custom in Japan, so don't expect to tip your server because they might consider it a rude behavior. Okay, once again, thank you guys so much for taking part in this lesson this week. I hope that you enjoyed it and you're able to learn more about Japan and the customs that surround dining there.